Alright, so I have Logic Pro X open now and imported both samples that we're going to be using. The first sample is a Marvin Gaye sample. I'll play that back really quick. Alright, so that's the Marvin Gaye sample. Let's go ahead and play back the other sample that I imported here. This is basically just a very famous drum break by the Detroit Emeralds, and it's been used in countless records, but I'll let you hear it really quick. So the idea is to chop up these drum sounds, the individual kicks, snares, and open hats and whatnot, and then be able to play them back on the keyboard ourselves. Alright, so let's go ahead and find the BPM of the sample. So I'm soloing that out. I'm going to go into my effects, go to metering, and do our BPM counter in stereo. I'm just hitting the space bar now and playing it back and seeing what comes up. Let's try that from the beginning again. Alright, so 83.5 it is. Coming up here and selecting 83.5 like so. Alright, so now that we know that it's in the right tempo, let's go ahead and turn our metronome on and just make sure. Let's mute this track. Loops nicely, so we know that we're good. So I'm going to chop it actually right here, just like that. Okay, now we can get rid of this excess. I'm not really going to use that. Let's put in a new software instrument and bring in our EXS24 sampler, stereo. I'm going to come in here and we're going to chop the sample now right at the bar. If you want to know how I'm chopping samples, there's a link in the description for a video that explains how I do this, the chopping method on my keyboard. So let's go ahead and hit our edit button, select these samples, just drag them in like this. If you don't have your edit button, it means that your advanced tools aren't turned on. So you come to Logic Pro X, Preferences, and Advanced Tools. Make sure to enable all of them. Okay, now that we've imported these samples, let's include them into a group. So I'm going to select all of them and drag them into a group, and we'll set our polyphony to 1. This basically, these settings basically allow us to play these samples back like an MPC. I hit it once, and it plays all the way through. Okay, so that's done now, so we can name this now samples. Now to our drum loop. Let's go ahead and chop this one up a little bit. So this one we're going to have to be a little more exact. So I'm going to come over here to the first sound. Let's see here. So it actually really starts right here with the kick. So I'm going to do this really quick. Okay, let's zoom in a little more here and just bring that playhead just like that. Okay, so that's our first kick. What I like to do is leave all the air, meaning all that white noise in the background, just to give it a more rustic feel, sort of. Chop it here again. The chop isn't exact, you can always zoom in and, you know, be more precise, basically. Wave starts right there, so okay. So that's the first snare. Then we have an open hat, I think, is this? Yep. That's like a snare open hat combo. right here, maybe. So we have kick now. Kick, snare, and open hat. This might be a hi-hat right here, this little one. Yep. So we could chop the hi-hat out of there too. Be more exact again. Okay, and what do we have here? It's another snare. Might as well drop that in here for variation. After we've chopped all of these drum sounds out, we're going to put those in the EXS24 sampler as well. And at that point, we'll be able to start playing them back on our keyboard. So, patience, Danielson. Here we go. Here's another, like a double kick combo. Doo-doo. It's got a little bit of a hi-hat in there too. Maybe chop it like that. And might as well chop these little guys over here too. Just like this. Alright, I think that's actually a good start. That's probably all we need. So now at this point we can sort of like get rid of the rest here. That's a nice, maybe we can get that one in there too. Just like the way the open hat sort of comes in there. Okay, so we get rid of this. Now we have some nice samples that we can work with. I'll open up another EXS24 sampler. So basically this entire beat that we're making only consists of samples, really. You know, that we've chopped out of records ourselves. So, okay, now I'm just going to bring this like this. Hit our edit button. Come over here and bring in a new software instrument. Again, EXS in stereo. And we'll bring this in like so. Let's edit. Chop them in there. Okay. And same thing. Command A. We're going to go to group, new group. Drag those into the group. Polyphony to 1. Now we can play these back. Gotta unsolo it. Okay, cool. So what we can do now is maybe drop a compressor on top of the drums because they're really quiet. So there's a little trick here. You can use the Type U Tight Kit to really make those drums stand out a little bit more. Okay. All right, so we're pretty much set here in terms of chopping the samples. Let's just go ahead and make sure to notate this as drum samples. Okay. Mute this track. It's come up with a pattern for our samples. It'll probably be in the same progression as it normally is, but we'll, try to change it up a bit and see. Okay, so I'm going to just hit record really quick here with the metronome on. Okay, select those MIDI notes and quantize them. Alright, cool. So now let's come in here and what we'll do is basically chop up the low end a little bit with the EQ. And now let's try to find, you can hear that little bit of a knock. It's like a snare almost. It goes tuk, 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 So I'm going to try and find it in the EQ here and then try to chop that frequency out, because we want to, you know, occupy that with our own drums. Okay, that's good. Just want to try and see if I can push this in a little bit. Okay, so now let's go ahead and try to build our drum pattern around this. Work with the snare, so let's go ahead and record the snare in. Okay, we can loop that pattern, so I'm going to loop that like so. Okay, let's see. See if we can actually drag this one out like that. Maybe instead of having it, the hi-hat that fast, we'll just have it come in like... Okay, so in order for these drums actually to play like that, we got to set our polyphony to max. So my bad about that, because otherwise they're not coming in right. They'll chop each other off basically. And maybe what we can do, I was just thinking about this here with the sample, is initially we'll have it come in normally and then we'll do that little triple thing at the end here. But Let's get rid of these like this. Okay, so now what we can do is maybe actually layer our drums with some other drums just to, enhance them a little bit, have them stand out a little more. So I'm going to come in and bring in my drum machine designer, come on over to my user patches, and put a link in the description to show you guys how you can get an empty kit like this. It's actually really easy. So you can import your own sounds into your drum machine. Let's go and find some sounds that will work. And we'll draw on that kick pattern really quick on top of the other drums. Let's see what that sounds like. Yeah. Put a limiter on the master out, on the stereo out. Make sure it doesn't peak. Maybe we can layer that snare too. Like this one right here. Once you bring in your sample, always be sure to lower it because it comes in really loud otherwise. So I want to cut some of that high end off. Maybe pitch it down. So let's try that snare. It doesn't really match well. Let's try to find a different one. Yeah, that one matches well. Okay, so always, sound selection is very important. I sort of wanted another kick there, so just notice that. Let's find a bass sound here. I'm just going to use like one of these stock basses. I think I like the Liverpool one. Okay, nice. Let's go ahead and quantize that. Let's try it an octave lower. So I'm going to go Command A, and then I'm going to go Command Shift down, or Alt Shift down rather. Okay, just make sure it's quantized. Oh yeah. You know what I'm noticing though? That hi-hat sample, it's too long. Like, it sounds like it's overlapping a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop in a new software instruments and another EXS24 in stereo. Now let's go ahead and select that sample, bring it in here like this. This one we have to have one shot enabled. That's fine, but we're not going to put it in a group. So this way it'll play along with the other drums. All right, so bring in another pencil tool and drop that in there like this, 4 bars. Come to the beginning and let's paste that pattern in now. Let's double check and make sure that this is playing with the right octave here. This needs to come up to like C3. Make sure that other drum is muted. Kind of low. Let's put another compressor on there, and this time around we'll use the rock overheads. On this too here. See if they have a bass guitar, platinum bass. Duplicate this pattern by hitting Alt down on your keyboard, and what we'll do is need something else, another element here. I'm going to put in a pad of sorts. Let's use the alchemy, and let's look at some pads here. It's very like old school 80s sort of. So just cutting out frequencies now because I don't want it to clash with other stuff. There. Now what we can do is drag this over one like this, put somewhat of a start in the, like an intro there, just a sample playing, and I don't know, for the heck of it, let's go ahead and drop in like a halftime. It's just for the intro. So hit A on my keyboard, come down to halftime and do mix. So I'm basically telling the sample to place first in halftime and then gradually fade out at the end here into the normal speed. Hit A again to hide your automation. Ooh, nice transition there. Ozone 7 elements here, just to give it like a little maximizer at the end. Saying at the end, that's not true. The whole thing. Okay, so I think it needs somewhat like of a drum break right at the beginning of where the drums drop. Yeah, something like that. Ooh, fire. I think this beat is pretty much done now.